this.
Ray Clark.
Vicky Grub. Assieds-toi là-dessus. Sit on this. Sit on this.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, it gives Vicky and myself great pleasure and honour and privilege to be sitting. Where are we? We're in Bristol. We're in Bristol, and we're at the Bristol Upholstery Collective, and we today get the opportunity to speak to the amazing Leigh-Anne. Leigh-Anne, thank you very much for joining us here on this podcast.
Thanks for making the journey, guys. Welcome to sunny Bristol.
You're welcome.
It's very sunny today.
It's very sunny. It's very hot. So you'll forgive me if I'm.
We do have a bit of a sweat on today.
We do indeed. Right.
I am loving your workshop.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It's such a lovely atmosphere and space, don't you think?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I mean, obviously, usually this space is full of students all hammering and producing incredible work. So it's
I mean, we're actually surrounded by your work today. Not your work, the students' work, because tomorrow we've got your show day, the new
we've got show day and awards for our diploma students.
Of which I'll be very excited, Amy, to look forward to helping dish out some of these really well-earned and thoroughly deserved certificates to your students.
It's going to be a fun night for sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Great.
really excited to be hot as well.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fun.
But before we get to that, let's get to a couple of questions. My first one that comes to my mind is, what can you tell us about the 8-year-old Leigh-Anne that would inform us about the amazing individual that's sitting in front of us here today?
That's you kind, right? Yeah. So the little 8-year-old Leigh-Anne was very shy, but a performer.
Okay.
She's authentic, massively creative, always making things.
Yeah.
Very determined, like real determination. I probably worked a little bit harder than everyone else, I'm starting to realise.
Sure.
But this massive daydreamer, huge daydreamer, quick learner. Before my teacher had even given out and finished the instructions, I'd be on it, I'd be doing it. And I think, I don't know, I was playful and sensitive.
Where were you born?
So I was raised in a town called Aldwych, which is not far from Birmingham.
Okay.
So little Brummy, Leigh-Anne, moved here into Bristol when I was 19. Definitely moved away from Bristol a few times. I lived in Devon and South Wales and always came back to Bristol.
Growing up then, so were you always artistic? Did you go on to art college and things like that? Or
Yeah, so I've always been really creative. And I mean, my mind, I think, works very differently.
Okay.
I was recently diagnosed ADHD, and actually one of my traits as a young girl that kind of looks like an overachiever. It's all there, that daydreamer especially. And it's interesting then how, I mean, fortunately, my mother always kind of suggested that the route I should follow is essentially one that I enjoy. So I went down the arts route and I studied at Sutton Coldfield Design College, did my foundation, best year ever. When they unlearn all that art stuff they teach you at school, and they teach you really about being an artist and get you ready for university. It's a really great transition year.
Oh, I never did art foundation. So
go and do it now.
Yeah,
it's never too late. Honestly,
I didn't do an art foundation. I think I just went.
Everyone
I did an
goes
ordinary
through
national diploma, and then straight on to a degree.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's a similar thing. It was great because you get to trial out loads of different modules and different mediums.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember thinking I wanted to be a children's book illustrator. And my first fine art class, the tutor asked us to bring in 2 objects that could fit inside a matchbox. A marble and a feather is what I took in, with just sort of contrasting textures. And he said, right, choose one and draw it. And so I chose the feather. And before I started drawing it, I absolutely battered it, chucked it, and then drew it. And he said, why'd you do that? And I just said, well, it's got more meaning to it now, right? It's been through something. It's got something to say. And he went, you're not an illustrator, you're a fine artist. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So then I went to Bristol to do fine art, and my work consisted of a lot of kind of playful work. So a lot of the subject that I would study was daydreaming and what I called the in-betweens of productivity.
Okay.
Which really lends itself into the ADHD as well. The undiagnosed, I might say. I've been daydreaming and being productive in so many ways that I'm now making more sense of.
I think, though, it comes hand in hand with creative. Yeah, this is the way that people think is slightly different. With ADHD and with autism, I think it's kind of, I don't know, it brings out the art in you. It's like people say it's a superpower bit there.
It's the speedy brain for ideas, and I think there's an element of impulsivity and risk-taking as well, which we see. So there's a high rejection sensitivity, but I mean, a degree in fine art is essentially 3 years of getting criticised. The art critique. So yeah, I got it. And so I feel like a bit of a pro at taking critique. I'm like, right, okay, great, I'll take that, and then I'll do something with it,
Right.
And I love fine art, and I love the university experience because the people, the artists, the people that were quite like-minded actually. And
is that where you first developed got a sense of community, or did it come before?
Yeah, because we're in a collective.
Yeah, I mean, community is really important to me, and I think there's something that I get really socially drained, but I also get a lot of energy from people and my environment. I think environment is really key for ADHD. And so it's really important who you have in that community. And I love bouncing ideas. And that's what bringing people around me is. It provides me a stage for the performer in me that's the masking, which has dug me out of some real dark places, I'm very much motivated for people rather than myself. So in terms of activation, if I set my sights on a big goal or an idea, it's the people around me that I don't want to let down that will be the ones that drive that forward and get me activating on tasks. Otherwise, I'm in this procrastination state of dreaming and but almost kind of uncomfortably. And not making decisions quick enough is my thing. But because I see so many answers to the same issue or problem, or it's that curiosity. And I think that ADHD mind, especially, I can only speak from that angle. That's mine.
This reminds me of I don't mind. I hope you don't mind me I hope you don't mind me mentioning a couple of
I don't know what you're going to say yet.
A podcast that I listen to.
Oh yeah,
Blind Boy podcast. Shouts out to the Blind Boy podcast. And he describes how his Asperger's, the very symptoms or feelings that you have just described, he talks about, and that he gets great energy from being around people and being around the right types of people. But he can also at the same time leave them quite drained at the end of it.
He's a comedian, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm making a note because I want to listen. I love listening to podcasts. So that's the thing that when I'm in if I'm trying to it's funny you talk about activating on tasks,
right?
Because there can be a real resistance to get started. Even the most simplest things like having a shower sometimes is just like, oh god, that's hard. Why is that so hard? Which might sound so ridiculous to others because it's just you just get in the shower. You're just like, no. There's so many other things that. And I think there's something about that task activation. So, like Stacey Solomon's Sort Your Life Out. If I need to tidy up my flat or organise a particular pile of documents or whatever, I will put that on the TV.
That's such a good idea. Yeah.
It's always like, they call it like an accountability part. So I'm just like sorting my life out with Stacey Solomon on my day.
There's my accountability.
But doesn't it help? I mean, you can actually join forces and so actually to focus and to really kind of knock down some ideas, people around, and that's the environment. We're talking about people essentially. So important.
But that feeling, that sense of community that you've fostered and developed, can you describe some of the first experiences like around when you were at uni or?
Yeah, I think community has always been really important to me. At uni, it was definitely a like-minded, that ideas bouncing. I buzz off the ideas. That kind of whole thing of ideas and dreaming up big ideas that were unusual or outside of the box, and that ability to be like, yes, and and it escalates.
Right.
That for me is so exciting. And so actually bringing that into any environment, I've got certain friends that I might go on a walk with that are artists that think and talk in a similar sort of way.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we come out from a walk with each other feeling so energized.
Yeah.
And you can really feel it, can't you, when you spend time with other people and you, oh my, why I'm dying.
Yeah.
And I think then with the Bristol Upholstery Collective, it was very much based around, it started off as an incubator space for upholsterers that were newly qualified, as a way to basically reduce overheads, share expenses, because space was so difficult to come by and it's so expensive. And so I thought, well, if I've got this need for space, then others must have it. And so we would share sewing machines, we'd share cutting tables, we'd just be able to maximize space. But it also meant then that we could shout bigger and brighter and louder, more volume.
Yeah.
And, that's when we got noticed for Money for Nothing, a TV show.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But prior to that, actually, I'm going to take one step back.
Take as many steps back as you like.
Tangent, another good thing that us ADHD good at.
I'm going to everyone back.
Oh, yeah, thanks. We need you, Vicky. Keep me to the point. But the School for Social Entrepreneurs was another place, another community that I found my people, the people that think like I do in terms of business as well.
What's that then?
The School for Social Entrepreneurs is essentially it's funded. They usually offer you a grant and they train. It's something like a 12-day course, but over 9 or 10 months. And it's for people that have a business idea that may have social, environmental, or kind of impact other than just making profit. Mm-hmm. So that it's wonderful, because then I was in this class of 20 people, and they would all have different they'd spot a gap in the market, usually based off a need that they'd experienced a lack of support in.
Sure.
And then they would figure out ways to include that in their business and make it purposeful. And so I just love that, again, because it gives so much creativity to business and developing and strategizing in that sense. And
is that something you've done recently?
So I started the School for Social Entrepreneurs, that was 11 years ago, because actually out of the School for Social Entrepreneurs, I developed a craft and wellbeing program. But my idea was to replace the apprenticeship schemes that weren't readily available. And so I was just like...
For upholstery
to begin with, because that's my skill. And then once I'd facilitated and developed a framework, it could roll out to any skill for any maker that's in isolation. Yeah. That overcomes that kind of disconnect there, but also provides skill development, purpose and confidence for those that couldn't work for whatever reason, whether that's a health issue, mental health, physical, or whether they were asylum seeking and just couldn't work for whatever reason.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was how it started, recognising in classes, teaching upholstery, the wellbeing element of people immersing in craft.
Yeah.
And so I developed this craft and wellbeing program. I piloted it, went really well. And we wove in the kind of ways to wellbeing throughout the layers of upholstery. It was wonderful.
Love the way. That's very brighting.
I know, isn't it?
I
just weave well-being through the layers. And I think that I recognised the needs for space, for people in that. I was just like, this social enterprise or this programme to thrive needs a home. It needs people around it that believe in it, that can, and a space that's affordable. And so Bristol Upholstery Collective, I think I mentioned in Robbie's podcast, though.
Shouts out to Robbie.
That was 5 years ago I did that, and it was so interesting.
I did that. I did it before you were the episode before me 5 years ago.
I was listening back thinking, what did I say? What was I doing? What were my hopes and dreams back then? Am I on track?
Yeah, it's a good record, isn't it? It's a good record of your hopes and dreams.
Lovely reflection exercise. So thanks for this one as well. Like a 10-year update.
We'll come back.
Because of course now it's the 10-year anniversary of Bristol Upholstery Collective.
Is that 10 years in September?
Yeah, 10 years in September.
Sit on this.
Ray, I've got a confession to make. I once dated a tool.
Now, are we talking heartbreak or hardware?
Staple gun, my BEA. Honestly, it's been more reliable than most people I've ever worked with.
Oh, totally. Mine's taking a beating over the years. Still fires like day one. No jams, no weird noises, just solid work.
I use 71 Series 421 staple gun most days. But I've also got the long nose 436 for those awkward bits. You just know it's going to deliver clean staples every time.
And it doesn't wear arm out either, especially when you're working on a big frame or doing repeat jobs.
Powerful, reliable, and never goes to me mid-project. Legendary and dependable.
Bit like me, really.
Only difference is my BEA doesn't moan when I drop it.
Are we still talking about tools here? I've got feelings, you know.
So if you're tired of unreliable tools and dodgy knockoff staple guns and want to upgrade your kit, now's the time.
Head to the link in the show notes and you'll get 10% off your first purchase on guns and staples using the code SITONTHIS10.
BEA staple guns. Powerful, precise, and honestly a lot easier to live with than some of the tools I've known.
Staple smart, sit on that.
I just go back because I don't actually know the story of how you got into upholstery, and I just realised you actually mentioned that. We're talking about upholstery, and I didn't know how you actually did you go from fine art straight into?
So from fine art, I was working as a community artist in South Wales. There was loads of funding in community regeneration back then, so I would do loads of stuff. Everything from making kites on the beaches on Gower, dream job, to doing site-specific work and developing a fine art practice in basically museums for kids that were out of education for whatever reason. And it was wonderful. I loved it. But I kind of suffered the famine and feast of financial security. Wasn't there as an artist. And so I called got artist, and I read up running pubs, and I managed the old jazz pub.
Wait. Sorry. You ran pubs. You managed.
Yeah.
Because I back in the day, I worked in a few bars and clubs, nightclubs, and I never got to a point where I could manage a bar.
This one kind of managed
There's a
itself.
reason for that.
They wouldn't give you the keys to the pub.
No, I'm saying there's a lot of drinking around, managing a pub.
Well, this is the thing.
This is
Control yourself.
Did you find yourself? I mean, in my experience, you become a professional pisshead.
Absolutely. I never give me the keys to the pub. I drank all of it. And I think the thing is, because the pub itself, there was such a tight-knit community of artists, musicians, actors, and various different young artists in the making.
Yeah.
Who, they've all done so well. I'm so proud of us all, actually, because we were very drunk and we could have easily just slipped down a very different road. We channeled our creativity into a more authentic way. And it's wonderful to be about, but I was drunk every day for about 3 years. Honestly.
I love that.
Do you know the thing is, though, as well? Here's another ADHD thing. I would use alcohol to focus. I didn't realise I did this until 2 years ago. I'm now 2 years sober.
Wow.
Since the diagnosis. So
You don't touch alcohol.
I don't drink. Which
So do you think it made your symptoms worse? Routine for you thought it made them better.
It helped me focus. Drinking. Yeah. So I thought I was a night owl previously. Because it was more socially acceptable to drink at night. So all of the website that you see online, I was drunk. It's the only time that you could get me to sit down, relax enough to focus. And so I would work through the night, and I always thought I was a night owl. I'm not, actually. It turns out when I'm sober, I'm up really early and I'm in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. But the thing is, I would, to even count tills and to do wage packets, I couldn't be doing that at 10 o'clock in the morning without tequila. Right. And the pub provided an environment where it was almost socially acceptable. I'm in a pub.
Yeah.
Just have that. But I didn't realise what I was doing.
No.
I just thought that's what I do. I just drink. And then I get my stuff done. And then I'll get another flag in and I'll skip off somewhere impulsively. And it's really fascinating having a diagnosis and looking back at how I've functioned and how I have soothed and medicated my brain throughout that time. Wow. But so from the pub, yes, very drunk every day. And I just needed to reconnect with my hands. And I think I went to college to study 1 day a week at upholstery.
Where was this?
Where?
Where?
There was a college in Easton in Bristol called Leigh for Skills. I think Leigh, I can't remember, and I'm no good at Hebrew, but I think it's a Hebrew word for needle-based they taught them needle-based crafts. And it was amazing. It was a women-only college. Certain cultures don't allow men and women to mix, so it was women only. It had a creche on site, it had an amazing Caribbean cafe on site. They taught English alongside the skills, and the teachers were so goddamn brilliant at what they did. So I went there 1 day a week, mostly sober. maybe hungover and sober towards the end of the day. But, you know, and it gave me this kind of ability to actually work my hands again after losing it a little bit. Miss.
Wow. I mean, it reminds me like of because to fund my course at London Met when I studied, I was working in bars.
Yeah.
And I was aware then that I was probably drinking a little bit too much then, but I wasn't like, well, there were a few moments. There were a few.
Maybe we shouldn't go down this.
No, it's fine. It's just, you know, I mean, yeah, it's just one of those moments where you recognise that maybe you're doing something a bit too much, and there was something within you that you want to focus on. The good thing was I was able to turn that around. I was able to use the bar, and thankfully I had some great bar managers who were aware of my ambitions at the time of me wanting to get into upholstery and going to study, and giving me like contract upholstery work.
Really, you took on pub seating?
Yeah, I did. That was summer. I was way out of my depth, you know.
Yeah, mate, we make it up, don't we? One of my first projects without any knowledge of upholstery whatsoever, and my boss at the LG handed me a roll of red velvet and an office staple gun and said, "You can recover the seats." And it was just after the smoking ban.
Yeah.
I mean, the smoking ban kicked in and the whole pub stank. I mean, it's a stinky pub, but the cigarette smoke actually helped with that.
Oh, yeah, I never thought the consequences of furniture in the pub.
Nicotine in all the fabric.
Cigarette burns in all the seats.
What you have to do with that.
And so I put it all straight. And it was interesting because then 10 years later, I went back to the old Duke to recover the seats again and undid my work that I had no knowledge of anything. And it was lovely to see, look how I figured that out.
Yeah.
And now I know what I know. Yeah. Brilliant. And it was just such a lovely...
But you got into teaching quite quickly, didn't you?
Yeah. I was actually teaching the lower levels. In my upholstery class, I would then, if my tutor was away for whatever reason, I would teach the lower levels that I'd already studied. And loved it. I think we basically, then the college was in a bit of financial difficulty. Unfortunately, it did close, it just couldn't keep up with the times. And again, this determined little Leigh-Anne was like, I set up studios there for the people that were practicing, learning the skills to be able to then actually make a business and livelihood out of it. I was asking whether we could teach evening classes just to sort of, try and bump up some funding, and it just was met by so much red tape.
Yeah.
If it could have just pushed through, I mean, fortunately I'm taking on that legacy now and I'm doing that. So at the time, I had a studio no bigger than this table with a general making space, and there was a place called the Women's Wood Workshop in Totterdown. I think it still exists, actually. But at the time, they had a massive waiting list of people wanting to study upholstery because the teacher there, I think her name was Anne, she only had 6 places in her upholstery class, and they never left. So there's no room for anyone else to come through and study. Yeah. So they would just instead send people my way, and that's how the teaching started in terms of private lessons.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started doing leisure classes.
Yeah.
And then eventually you actually come into apprenticeship teaching there and stuff, weren't you?
Yeah, so we're now in an AMUSF training centre, which is very prestigious indeed to be able to be recognised in such good quality, not only in what we're delivering in the classroom, but how we organise and how we run, which I'm very proud of. And it was interesting because teaching leisure classes I love it. I still do and always will. And but it was when I met Harriet Page, who has absolutely...
Shouts out to Harriet Page.
I gave her that look, didn't I? Just a shout out Harriet.
What's her Instagram? Because it's like...
Her in the chair, Harriet.
I have seen her video. She's incredible upholsterer.
Super talented. Yeah. Super, super talented. And she was a teacher. And so it kind of suited her more so to teach a syllabus-led programme. And so we sort of said, hey, why don't we invent our own certificate? Like, we can, and Howard's, we could design our own syllabus. Can I do it? And I was like, yeah, baby, that's yours. And then it was Wendy Shorter that kind of caught wind that we designed and developed our own
Can I do that now?
What?
Yeah, I'll find it. Come on. Give her a shout. I gave her a shout at the last day in podcast. You're
Why
right.
don't we just give her a shout at every single podcast? And then that way we'll just cover all.
All bases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
credit
Shouts out.
in the end to Wendy.
Everything is down to Wendy.
It is, because there's a ripple effect. And through Wendy, Harriet is legendary in the sense of like passing on those skills.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, the amount of students that then, once we became AMU, we swapped out the syllabus. Our syllabus that we designed included some screen printing and various different things too, because we were just...
Creative. Just wanted to just.
I did that on my sitting boards. I did screen printing.
Did
In
you?
my upholstery sitting boards.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was a big art. We had a whole art section to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, we
That kind of embraced fabric manipulation,
yeah,
embellishment and...
embroidery. We did lots of things.
But actually, a lot of the students incorporate those elements into their work in upholstery anyway, even though it's not actually on the syllabus to be taught.
Yeah.
But so the AMU Training Centre, for us, that really kicked off. And it was lovely to be able to just have that.
So, like, how has being a member of award-winning training facility of the AMS, how has that helped, like, your collective?
Do you know, the big one is financial security. I know every September, usually August, exactly how many students I've got for the whole year. I know what my overheads are.
Sure.
I know if I'm going to break even, if I'm going to make a loss. I've got time to find that extra bit of money to provide the cash to.
Yeah.
Usually by April, May, then I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, okay. But I know in September, whether I'm going to have a cash flow issue in a few months' time. That is everything. That knowledge
And
is
that
power.
is key to upholstery business, because when you are
Upholstery
doing
training facility.
no, I'm saying like
Just
in
any
general.
business.
Yeah, of course. Sorry.
The trouble with
The
working
heat.
solely
This
on
is the heat.
the trouble with solely working on the bench is that you don't necessarily know when your next project's coming.
Yeah.
And
Or the
this
how
is the
big it
difference
is,
between
or-
Ray and I, because I get deposits, so I always take deposit up front.
Yeah.
And then I get full payment just before the course starts. So I'm always booking ahead. So I always have a cash flow. I always
Yeah.
have money coming in. And I think that's
something
if you
I'm
can
still
find a
working on.
way of doing that. Like maybe you work with an interior designer that is giving you guaranteed work, or you're working with an antique that's giving you guaranteed work. Then you can start to budget and plan. But it's so hard just working on the bench.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And I think if you take out the financial stress or uncertainty, then that creates space. And what do we use that
So then
space for?
creativity.
Creativity. All right. So then the fun comes in.
It's taken a whole journey up to Bristol for me to learn that.
I mean, I've not mentioned it at all.
Wow.
But it is true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? You're safe if you're secure and you can guarantee what it is you're doing and you can pay your overheads. You haven't got this stress monster that is a killer of creativity.
It's the worry of like, the worry of paying your rent is real. It's real.
It is real.
It really is. And I think, as much as I'm good in a crisis, and I've pulled us out of a few big uns very creatively.
Are you going to help?
And I think it just, there's certain points in the journey, and I've foreseen it coming,
You
which
couldn't have foreseen the pandemic. Nobody did. So,
didn't foresee that.
so
But there's certain things about the speedy ADHD brain that's always hyper alert of everything that could possibly go wrong. Now that could be, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, anxiety, or it could be idea creation, solutions, right? And so I'm always thinking, what could possibly go wrong? And then I'll notice the tiniest little thing, really sensitive to our environment, little changes, little things, what's going on in the world. It's all kind of starting to add up. And you're like, I'll be ready for that. I've got these 6 ideas that I can pull out the bag, whichever one depends on. And I think that's why during the pandemic, it was really interesting to be calm in a crisis, like a global crisis. It was just incredible in terms of what was going on. And I remember my business manager at the time, Ali, oh my gosh, she's my angel. I might have to mention more about Ali later on.
No problem.
She's
No problem.
wicked.
Well, so you had a business manager, and was she working she was working as Zilky full time? Or
Yeah, so I would deliver courses, weekend courses around the Southwest. I would teach in Plymouth, Exeter, Schumacher College,
like the
and it started because when I was living in Devon, I was teaching at Plymouth College of Art, and my students there, when I was moving back to Bristol, were like, "Who's going to teach us?" And I was like, "Well, I can basically teach you what we've just done in a term in a weekend." And they were like, "I'll put you up. I'll get the bathtub run." Isn't that my students would put me up? I go and just hire local venues.
That sense of community coming in again.
Yeah, taking a whole heap of. I used to vacuum pack bags of horsehair and put them in my car, and tools only. Anyway, and so when I was teaching down in Dartington, save on storage, Ray, vacuum.
oh my god, I'm
taking this idea.
What? Wait a minute. So you got a bag of heads.
do that in your
I'm just thinking about this. So wait. So you've got like a bag of plastic. Well, presumably a plastic bag full of hair.
Yeah.
Stick a vacuum cleaner hose in the end of it without.
You can get the ones with valves
On
that,
them.
you know, like for your duvet storage
Yeah.
and winter clothes. You might put them under the bed, or you can vacuum pack things.
And that also stops the hair stops moths and things from getting in. That's brilliant.
And it feels so funny just having
This is a game changer. This is an upholstery hack. Kind of upholstery hack.
Oh, there's loads.
Brilliant.
It was when I was teaching down at Dartington, Schumacher College, because Dartington started up the Craft Revolution, which actually they launched at Bovey Tracy Craft Show, and I helped them set that up. It was brilliant. Anyway, it was when I was working down in Dartington, this wonderful lady, and I call her my angel because she came from nowhere and she had my back from day one. She was fascinated. She came to do a footstool course that I've designed. And she was fascinated. It was in the first year of Bristol Upholstery Collective. I'd just got on money for nothing.
Yeah.
I was just like a million miles an hour. Like,
It's all happening.
and I am buzzing. I mean, off of pure adrenaline. Burnout was fast approaching, right? And I think Ali, she's curious, and she asked those questions like, "Oh, what's this collective about then? Who helps you?" And I was just like, "No. No one helps me. I just do this, and I give everyone everything." And she's like, "All right, okay." And she said, "Hey, do you fancy having some coaching? I'd love to coach you." And she wasn't. She'd worked in lots of large organisations and really understanding psychology of people and how to bring those together to understand people to make them more productive and work better and more profitable for huge global organisations. And so I think she was just saw me and something drew her to me, probably because we're quite similar, didn't realise at the time. And so I said to her, "Well, I can't really afford coaching, but I can teach you some upholstery." So this skill swap started to happen. And Ali, very much like me, she recognised how my brain was working. She would get all of the table, her dining table, covered with paper, all the brightly coloured pens, and she'd be like, "Tell me, what's this? What's that? How's it relate? Draw it out." And she'd literally, everything that was in my brain, poof, out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Imagine how
Everyone needs an Ali, but Ali only works with people that are actually determined and pull off what they're going to say. They're going to pull off. And so quite quickly, the whole kind of brain dumping in very colourful format, whilst also dancing around the table, it suggested that I needed a business manager, someone to keep an eye on the business element of things, like the forecasting and various different things, to keep me doing what I do best and play to my strengths. She then sort of approached me and said, "Leigh-Anne, I think it's really clear to both of us that you need a business manager." She said, "Don't jump in and say yes right away," because she knows I would. She's like, "How do I become your business manager?" And I was like that. The answer is a bloody great big yes, because we worked so well together. Trust is really key in that role when you're working so closely with somebody. And Ali and I just got it. The amount of times that if we were in a heavy sort of process trying to figure something out, we would actually get up and start twirling in the room, like just to kind of regulate.
Young
to just
dancer coming out.
I think there's something you said before. I mean, I'd had several business mentors, and we spoke with one right at the beginning of the podcast in season 1. My business mentor, Angela, and that was through
Angela Rowley, shout out to
shout out. that was through it was like a charity and it's called Dorset Mentoring. And so there's lots of different places you can actually get mentors that I think are brilliant. They give you a completely different perspective. They also can be really cutthroat. And why are you doing that? Like, that's not looking at money.
But the wonderful thing is, from what you've just said, like, because she did a footstool course with you, she came into your environment and got a feel for who you are first before not laying down a law, but offering her.
Curious about me.
Yeah.
She could relate. She could relate to me, and she could see how she could help, and she could see it'd be fun to work with me.
Yeah, because
no one wants to work with someone that's just
or doesn't quite get what they're about.
Or there's no trust, and we shared values, and that's really important. And so Ali was my business manager. And it was great to have that somebody that understood me, who could help me preempt, or could just kind of reassure or bounce ideas with. Because actually with employees, there's a degree of not secrecy, but there's transparency, but you can't be just going, oh guys, this work. You have to take responsibility for the bigger picture and stuff that actually can be really quite challenging.
It takes you. I mean, I've not grown my business to employ anyone yet, but having parents that had their own businesses and watching them trying to manage staff, it takes you away from the actual thing that you set out to do, which is upholstery. So, I can imagine that can be challenging in itself.
Hugely. So I've made one chair in 4 years.
Oh, really? I was going to ask you about
I was going to ask you about it.
Okay, you are teaching, but are you still making?
Yeah, so I think, like you're saying, as the company grew, because after the pandemic, there were so many people interested in studying, career change. They have the resources, the money, the time. Yeah, that's it. It was like a prolonged Christmas period where everyone kind of reconsiders. So,
absolutely.
But New Year's restoration? New Year's resolution?
I used to restoration.
Yeah, and restoration. That reinvention and that space to study. And so after the pandemic, our school went to, the AMU side of the school, 65 students.
Oh, wow.
And so I had quite a large team of just the most incredible upholsterers. Oh, my word. They're just
drop some names and who.
Okay,
right.
We've got Harriet Page.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is legendary stuff we're talking about here. Tom Evans was next. I think I then brought in Bethy Trix, who's a fabric designer. She was she'd had a history in PA roles. And so she was the first one to recognize my speedy brain. She was like, geez, your brain's speedy. I was like, you have everyone. And then after that, there's been loads of people.
Sounds like a proper dream team, but it also sounds like you got exactly the right types of people you wanted. You didn't just like get anyone indiscriminately around you.
Everyone that's come in.
Very intentional about the people you've had in.
I think everyone that's come in have been somehow drawn in magnetically to the creativity, to the opportunities that were coming up. I was doing things a bit differently. It's not just a boring day in, day out thing. I'm throwing all kinds of bizarre curveballs in.
Yeah.
This is good learning. This is like a really incredible place to work when it's all happening.
Sure.
Some people, though, wouldn't sit well with that because some people like systems and familiarity and making them don't like change.
Back to what you were saying a few minutes ago about certain students not being able to really understand or
Yeah, well, that is a great question that I have actually from teacher to teacher.
Here we go.
Yeah, if we can just talk about that a little bit.
And I'm going to have to mention my teachers right here as well.
Yes.
The team we've got at the moment are just the most patient, perfectionist, brilliantly kind of, in terms of classroom atmosphere, they're cool, they're calm, they're like so gorgeous. And that's Jackie Stevens and Tamsin Ketchlove. Now, they have been trained in-house, so they've done the syllabus with us here, and actually through the cohort of the pandemic, and we're tight because I think that era, when people go through something together, they really bond. And their particular cohort was just so incredibly helpful. It felt like a two-way thing. It wasn't just like, hey, you're going to turn up and you're going to get taught and you've paid your fees. great exchange. This is like, no, we're all in this together. We're going to achieve this together, no matter how, like whether it's online or in class or whatever. And so they're teaching, and you know, that's lovely that ripple effect is now they're passing on their skills.
So are you doing any teaching now?
I teach leisure classes.
You're teaching.
Yeah, and I love the leisure classes because I'm novelty seeking and there's plenty going on. My mind likes to juggle, so there's lots to juggle in the classroom rather than the syllabus that is AMU. Yeah, and that's where Jack and Tamsin are excellent. They're so organised at delivering that syllabus on pace, in detail, in depth, with everyone learning and progressing. It's just lovely. But I tend to like opening cans of worms more so and dealing with like responsive challenges. And so I'm with leisure classes.
Sorry about that earlier, weren't we? Hi. You know, there's lots of different ways of doing stuff in upholstery. Your way might not be the same as my way. We still get the same results, but it's not necessarily.
It's all about that approach. And I'll change it up anyway. You know, I've got a bag full of tricks. So whichever tool I'm going to pull out is.
I know, a bag full of tricks.
Yeah, you'll be like, what is she doing now? How can that person do different tricks?
I want to start vacuum forming everything. And what do you call?
Oh my god! I can only imagine you straight on alleys of smoke.
Everything, you're coming to our studio and everything is just wrapped in plastic and shrink wrapped.
But again, that comes back to the affordable space saving methods. Like, this is the biggest issue with upholstery. It's bloody huge. It needs so much fluff storage.
I feel it's an important message actually for a lot of upholsterers who have small workshop spaces as well. They tend to think, oh, I've got this chair in, I've got this sofa in. And they just, but you've got to really be very intentional about how you manage your space.
And the bigger the school gets, the more that space is important to be effectively run. And actually, Kerry Bailey Lane, I've got to give her a mention because honestly, I've never had an employee that's come in so young and so switched on in terms of working with me and my brain. Understanding what it is needs to do and picking up skills so quickly. She was the studio coordinator throughout that whole time. You know, she started working with me in the September before that the first Paintworks event we did. And it was huge. So not only was she learning the ropes on how to manage a store.
It was like a few years back, wasn't it? The Paintworks event.
I watched on.
We had a 2-week event.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because we had so many students, so 60 odd students, that's like 120 items.
So in terms of your team at that time, how big were you?
At that time, there would have been, I was so rubbish. There would have been Harriet Ton, Kerry, studio coordinating. She's literally been on the job 3 months and also events organising with me. I love a spreadsheet coloured in. That's how we get all that stuff done.
So much more.
We just need to face pals.
The fact that your mind works so close.
So we're talking about half a dozen people.
There was also, I think back then there was Sally, there was Ant. Oh God, who else was there? There was quite a few people that have worked at. I've had maybe 10 people work for me, but not all at the same time.
Sure.
They overlapped slightly, and I can't remember where everyone sort of slotted in. But that was the comeback from COVID that year.
Yeah.
So we were running double leisure classes because we postponed all the ones from the previous year in 2020. We're also running the current year leisure classes. So I developed a teach team. Like the teach team all got etched mallets that said how much I appreciated, and they were the teach team, man, that did that after
etched mallets.
Yeah, you know how you like see and seek it. Yeah, engraved mallets, so that they were kind of like a gift, just to sort of thank them for that time. And that was diploma students, especially from that cohort that went through it. Honestly, game changing. They learnt so much. They helped out so much. Again, we were all in it together, and it was brilliant. And at that award, at that awards night, an event in Paintworks, I mean, their awards night during COVID was a restricted 2-meter distance. We couldn't even pass them a certificate. We had to pretend to throw them a certificate and be like, woo! And then we'd have to do it in classroom numbers. So like each class would have to, like each hour would come in. We'd do this whole, presentation with them. And then, okay, right, out so the next class can come in, disinfect and all this. And it was just like, we need to make a comeback and get people back together again. Like, so that was what Paintworks was about, and putting a hell of a lot of chairs in one place. And then with that kind of cost, we're like, right, actually money for nothing. Ray, you came along, didn't you, on the panel?
I did. I love that panel. That was a great conversation.
And Jay Blades.
So who was on the panel?
Yes.
So there was Leigh-Anne, myself, Sharon was on the panel.
From Vinci.
Duncan, shouts out to Duncan. And I've got your chairs, mate. Don't worry. Got to say that. I mean,
He'll be chasing you.
he's been well. He's been wonderfully patient with me, as have all my customers. Who else was on there? There was a few.
Jay Blaze.
Jay Blaze was on there. Shouts out to Jay.
So supportive. He's been so supportive of me and my endeavours over the last few years. Like, honestly, again, I think earlier we were chatting about drains and radiators. You know, people that really energise you. And actually, mine and Jay's conversations always seem to be of this kind of, we always coach each other.
Right.
And it's just, we always thank each other for the conversation when we walk away, just like, really needed that. You know, like, I really needed to speak to you. And I'm like, yeah, that was a good chat. Right?
He has really good positive energy, doesn't he?
He's brilliant.
Generally speaking, yeah. I mean, we've had some great conversations. We've been on Money for Nothing together.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about Money for Nothing just for a second.
Yeah, go on.
About TV work in general and how, I mean, we had that symposium. There was about 12 of us on stage all talking about, I mean, looking back, what was your experience of Money for Nothing, or what were the highlights for you, or of doing that kind of TV work, not necessarily just for Money for Nothing? So where you've done quite a few shows, haven't you? So for different
I don't know
projects.
how I end up getting myself into these things. Maybe that's an ADHD thing too. Anyway, do you know, that panel discussion at Paintworks is actually on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I've read it.
Good discussion.
But
But the TV work with Money for Nothing.
looking back, what was the highlight for that?
How did it come about?
Yeah. So
Too many questions.
no, I can handle it all.
How did it come about?
So my mum said to me one day, "Yeah, I'm going to watch this TV show. They're doing stuff that you do on TV, you know, to chairs and stuff." And just like, "Oh, Mum, I'm surrounded by upholsterers. I'm a bit sick of it. I really need to watch a TV show where people, you know, do upholstery."
Yeah.
She's like, "Please watch it." I was like, "Okay, right." Watched it, and it was Answer Divine, and he'd taken an armchair, winged Parkinol, not on behind me, and then stretched it, and then made some printed fabric, and I thought, God, he's doing what I would do, you know, messing with frames, chasing distorting stuff, and kind of sculpting in that sense, and you know, and challenging. And I thought, oh, bloody hell, this isn't actually all right, this show. I was intrigued. Then a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call. "Hey, it's Sensei, producer of BBC Money for Nothing. Have you heard of the show?" I was like, "Funny enough, I will maybe watch that." And I was just like, "Could she be on the phone to you?"
Yeah.
You know, and both parties swear that they weren't involved.
Which I got the ball actually as well. And a headshot.
So this would have been
That must be 2016.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah, most
I
2016.
just loved it because actually the first ever project I did was inspired by, again, it takes me back to the childlike nature of my artwork and that daydreaming, that playfulness and that kind of fun. Do you remember, I don't know if you ever did this as a kid, you push the two armchairs together?
Oh, we used to think better than that. We used to take our parents' sofa. My brother will back me up on this, right?
This is going to be destructive, isn't it?
Not necessarily. Like, you got to think, like, 70s, we're young kids. Parents had, like, vinyl sofas, you know, like, yeah. So we had a vinyl sofa, I remember. I've got a distinct memory of this still. And we picked the sofa up. We were just young kids, me and my brother, and we stood it on its end. And on its end against the wall, and because it's vinyl, it's quite slippery. Yeah? So you know where we're going with this.
Yeah, right.
So you climb to the top. We're just young kids. We climb to the top of the sofa and we try sliding down it.
In-house slide.
In-house slide. Brilliant.
Genius.
No skateboards though.
Nice. Well, that came later. You know what I mean? But yeah.
I think there's just so much to be said for that kind of just
Yeah.
resourcefulness of children,
Yeah.
right? and playfulness and that spontaneity.
Yeah.
And it's such a great idea right now. Until someone breaks an arm. You're like, oh, that was still a good idea. But just so that with Money for Nothing, these 2 chairs I put together, and it was based all around that as a kid doing this. And then, I've created swings and various stuff. But one of the moments that I really enjoyed, I think it was Jay, actually. Jay, in a Jay episode, he brought to my studio, it was like an Argos swivel chair, a big padded thing. If you were going to reupholster it cost you hundreds just because there's sewing involved in it. And I was just like, mate, this is a budget TV show. I'm going to try and make a profit here. I'm going to try and make a transformation at the same time.
Yeah.
It needs to be TV worthy, like, you'll never believe that this is the thing. And this Argos swivel chair I turned into just really slick, almost like an iconic kind of tubular metal frame swivel chair. Though. I was just like this. Jay came in and he was chatting to me for ages before filming the pickup, and he was just like chat. He was like, anyway, girl, where's this chair that you've made for me? And I was like, mate, you've been stood next to it for the last half an hour. He was like, and he could not believe it. He wrote about it in his book, actually. That's the project that he featured. And that same chair, we then went into lockdown. It was in the window. Someone emailed me saying, hey, it's my husband's birthday. It's lockdown. We can't celebrate. I've seen that chair. He would love it. I was like, oh my God, right, okay. Amazing. This is a moment. What I'm going to do is obviously social distance. This is like a few weeks into lockdown. And I said, what I'll do is I'll wrap it up. Chairs make great presents.
The vacuum packet.
I do vacuum packet.
Sorry.
This one was wrapped in brown paper, big bow on top. And I said to them, what time do you have breakfast and get up? Because I will basically be outside your house. I will leave this big old chair wrapped up. They won't be able to see it. On the driveway, it will just appear out of nowhere. And then I'll message you. And I parked up the car like a proper detective, looking in the ring mirror back at this house. And this whole little family came out in their pajamas. And like the kids were in the middle. They're like, that's the biggest present I've ever seen. And I was like, yes, this is just like such a moment,
Yeah.
And so it was lovely to have that iconic chair that then was in the window in the pandemic, bringing joy to people as they passed by on their walk. And then it became a gift, a surprise on the driveway, wrapped up. I was like, oh, this is magic. And I like the playfulness that I've been able
I was going to say, I think that's the thing about these TV shows. They're bringing out the thing that you had when you were a little girl. Like you can recreate that because they give you life. Do you know when you're doing commission takes, you're having to do.
And here's something that I had to really exaggerate that differentiation as well, because I couldn't have someone, if I've charged money for nothing, 300 quid to make a chair, but on my price list, something similar would be
this is the thing, the perception of value. We had this during the conversation.
And so I have to differentiate so much and make the thing that people would never ask me to recreate in their day-to-day upholstery studio.
Sit on this.
Hey, it's a massive roll you're hugging.
This, fresh Hessian, just arrived from Martin's Upholstery Supplies, and yes, I'm emotionally attacked.
Well, that explains the grin. You do love a bit of 12 ounce.
Hey, don't knock it. It's the unsung hero. Holds my springs in place, neatens up my work, and smells like proper upholstery. I love the smell of 12 ounce in the morning.
Yeah, I actually ordered from Martin's last week. Foam, webbing, a few finishing bits. It all turned up in 2 days. No faff.
That's what I love. Whether you need a tin of glue or 10 metres of calico, it's all there, and it's all brilliant quality.
It's definitely my go-to for top-ups, especially when I realise I've run out of something mid-project.
Yeah, which is about every week.
Exactly. Martin saved me from full-blown panic attacks more times than I'd like to admit.
If you're setting up a workshop or just need the basics, Martin's has the lot. And as a special treat for our listeners, they're offering 5% discount on all foam and upholstery sundry orders. Just check the link in the show notes below and use the code SITONTHISMartins5 for your discount.
Martin's Upholstery Supplies. Solid, speedy, and always got your back.
Sit on that.
Can we just talk about that a minute? Because I said to Ray recently that he should charge separately for design consultation, because I think they are two different things. You can be an upholsterer and you can create something based on the original frame.
Yeah.
But if they are asking you to
Do
put something
design
on a
element.
fabric or
Yeah.
put a design element into it. I think that's a design consultation.
It's of
thing.
high value, especially you.
Yes,
Ray.
because Ray is
It's
an
really
artist.
clever.
He's an artist.
There's a label here associated.
Yeah.
I know.
All right. Okay. Well, I mean,
Charge more.
Yeah.
I do. I think, with respect, I'm not hearing you. I'm hearing Wendy Shorter through you saying you're not charging enough. You need to charge more. She doesn't say it like that. Sorry, Wendy. Shouts out. But I hold my hands up. I need to charge more work.
I think there's just something very special about collaboration, and that's what we're offering people is a collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay? And that is of more high value. You know, you can send your chair for reupholstery down the factory, you know, in big
Yeah.
companies. They're coming to you. Why are they coming to you? Because they see something in you that they want, right?
Yeah.
It's how you're working.
Well, certainly the Money for Nothing has helped me massively in bringing to me the kind of people who would be interested in my work.
based on your work and your personality. They want to work with you.
Yeah.
And that's the uniqueness, that's the value,
Yeah.
and therefore consultation, Vicky.
Yes.
I love this. I feel like we're ganging up on Ray.
All right.
We'll buy you a nice
I
cold
want the
drink
colours to
later.
break down again.
We'll buy you a nice cold drink later, but you feel
Thank you. It's wonderful.
And yeah, I just wanted to say, teacher Jen, I've got a little question, and
There you go.
it's based around something I heard the other day, and it just got me thinking about my role as a teacher and something that often crops up as a leisure school teacher. And it was this interview with Grace and Harry on Radio 6 Group, and he was talking about, you know, creating art, and I loved the conversation. It was a great conversation, but he said this thing which I'm just going to read out. That opening a kiln is an exercise in controlled disappointment, which I think is a great statement. And it got me thinking about all the times that I'm teaching students when I ask them to take something apart that they've just done because they've perhaps not pulled the fabric in the right direction, or something looks a little bit off, it's on the wonk, or it's a bit lumpy.
On the wonk. I love that. I love that sound.
And, you know, some students take it really well and they're like, yeah, no worries. But others, they're like devastated. You know, they think it's like an attack on them. It's like, oh my God, I've just done something wrong. But I think in all art, you always have to take something apart. I'm always doing it. As, you know, nearly 20 years in, I'm still taking things apart all the time because it doesn't quite look right. And is that something that, you know, perhaps as a perfectionist, that you can't, I'm just asking like how you handle that, because I don't know if that's something that can be taught and learned and pulled out of someone.
Absolutely. Do you know, actually, only last week someone said to me that they walked in here a perfectionist and now they're much more relaxed and forgiving with themselves.
Yeah.
Because actually, it doesn't matter that much. Like, you know, society, especially as an adult with responsibility, society rewards production and attainment.
Yeah.
Where's the fun in the process? Like, it's the process that matters more so. And I think it's very much about creating that space where that is an environment where it's safe to be able to make mistakes. Definitely expectation management.
Yeah.
I mean, opening the kiln and being ready for disappointment. It's just like, if you ever pick back a chair and just found underneath, it's just like, whoa, that's not like what I was expecting. Of course. But that's the joy of it, right? That's where the fun is. You're like, oh, curious, right?
Yeah.
And then you start delving in the detective work. What happened to this poor chair?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to fix it up. That's satisfying.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got to realize then also, okay, some students might be restrained. They're investing in some. They have a severe lack of knowledge until they see you in action, right? We make it look like magic, and actually the fun is behind the scenes, understanding how the magic happens.
Yes.
Right? And so quite often, people would want to perfect this side before they move on to that side. I'm like, no, we're going to get that sorted.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we're going to undo that, work it again. It's just like building process.
Yeah.
Actually, me and my team, the other day, and one of the resident artists here, she's a ceramicist, Rebecca Finnerty. She teaches over at a place called Z Alley Clay House. And me and my team, because this is what we do, rather than partying, I'm sober. we love learning.
Now.
So remember, we're not in the classroom. We want to be in other classrooms because this is what we do for fun. So rather than have a team party, Or eating dinner. I'm not really into food either, but like,
Really?
yeah, mate, it's maybe another ADHD thing.
You're not into food?
Yeah.
I love food.
Do you know, I think
Really?
We can chat now.
I struggle with digestion.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I struggle with that too. But
And I think that's because of my brain doesn't think about it. I can't decide what I want to eat. I just, anyway, food, tangent.
yeah, sorry.
But so, your brain's like, is it dinner time?
No, I'm not hungry. I'm, whatever.
No.
It's all good.
But so, my team and I, we went and did this wonderful day's workshop, and Rebecca made it very clear at the beginning, you're not going to come out of here with a pot, potentially. There's no end result. It's about process. And that zoning in to process.
Great.
And she taught us the techniques, the stance, everything. You know, a bit like upholstery, you've got a grip and you've got a power.
You've got to hold the hammer in the right place.
Yeah, and pottery is quite similar in terms of that kind of holding, steady and strong and firm. And of course, we're just throwing. We're practicing these techniques. We're figuring it out. Like, what does it do if I do that? Or what happens with this and that? And you end up with all these kind of pots that are all wonky and everything else. You're like, this is brilliant. I haven't made a bloody pot, but I've made all this. And that feels great.
Yeah.
But obviously then you're making something in the upholstery classroom that is very much going in someone's bedroom or living room, whatever.
Or going to be sat on.
It's about managing expectation and then say, hey, you might need another class to do
Yeah.
that. So, hey, I can finish this off for you if you suddenly find it's overwhelming.
I learned that very early on. In fact, it was a student that said to me, so very early on in teaching, it was a student that actually came to me and said, look, I think you need to manage people's expectations a bit better. Yeah. And I learned the hard way there.
I think being a teacher of any kind, especially craft, especially with complete newbies that have some kind of idea that they're going to be rubbish, they come in with their preconceptions of they're going to be amazing at this, or they're going to be rubbish at this.
They're going to do 1 turn a day.
Or that they're not creative, or this and that. And they've had so much society pressure of being a good, like, achieve, be correct, don't be wrong.
The joy is in the journey, not the destination.
Totally right. I think it's the process, and there's the process of upholstery is one to really get engaged with. And if you can allow yourself that time and resource to be able to do that, and quite often, you know, it is something. If they want to get it finished quicker than finished, I'll say 20 quid, I'll finish that for you in 10 minutes. There you go.
I'm going to do that.
It's the only commissions I take on now. It's just like, I'll just finish that for you.
So just to be clear, Bristol Upholstery Collective, you provide teaching courses, leisure and AIM-USF, but you don't take on customer commissions.
Not currently, no. I think over the last 3 or 4 years, it has been in terms of me managing the bigger things like moving venues. You know, we had to do a really savvy move to save us from bankruptcy here 18 months ago. Starting up the art studio that I've always dreamed of in the process. So, you know, it's like clever little moves that are happening behind the scenes that are big. I remember even my accounting team were just like, at the end of last year's accounts were like, fair play, you've made some tough decisions and they've all paid off. It's like, yeah. Again, that scary fearlessness.
You upscaled after COVID because it was like, you noticed there were some people coming to classes, but then you had to make some changes again when
Just go back. So almost breathe. Just move, breathe.
The small halved inside, it does breathe. And that's the thing. Another artistic trait is adaptability. Whether ADHD trait too, perhaps. And I think what was lovely is actually last year I felt like it was falling apart. Like I was ready to throw the towel in. Like it got dark.
Last year.
Yeah, this was following kind of ADHD diagnosis. There was a move. There was so much in my environment that was triggering it. I got CPTSD, complex PTSD as well.
Sorry,
And PMDD.
Let's see, complex PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. But also another trait of ADHD, living without awareness of it often develops that.
Right.
And so certain stressful environments, some stress is really good and exciting. My body sometimes doesn't recognize good stress, bad stress. Usually the trigger is environmental factors, quite often people. If somehow there's a person that's triggering in that environment, it can be really damaging and especially because I have PMDD as well.
So what did that look like, Pam? What do you mean by people triggering? Like what could that look like?
So it will heighten the sort of unmanaged ADHD traits. the sort of paranoia, decision paralysis, rejection sensitivity, you doubt yourself, your suicidal ideation. Like,
Wow.
if you don't replicate yourself, it kills creativity.
Right.
Remove that from the environment. You want your creativity. So that's essentially, kind of last year when the school started halving in size. Me and Harriet and Tom, they got their own studio. They'd done enough teaching. Brilliant, like what they've achieved. And so it was time for them to fly the nest. And actually the numbers of students was halving for whatever economical reasons. And I felt like it was falling apart. And I said, hang on a minute, let's recognise what's good here. And actually maybe it does need to fall apart and settle in a state that is manageable. Wow. And really it's just a time to throw open the windows and be like, that can go, this can go, this can go.
That takes a lot of courage to
absolutely.
that.
And I think as soon as I committed to that kind of, that it'd be okay, that I didn't have to be striving perfect, or that is all the time, I was just like, hey, what would it look like actually? And I use the business model canvas as a really good tool for this as well.
Sorry, the business model canvas, what's that?
It's a tool that I discovered in the School for Social Entrepreneurs. So it's like a business model planning tool, and you just draw out your business and all the components you need to run it and deliver in one bird's eye view on one piece of paper. I teach it to all the students.
Like a spider-gram.
It's kind of sections, so you have different.
I want to say things up.
Okay.
This sounds an amazing tool.
But I think there was that moment where I was just like, what if? And that's the question to ask on the business model canvas.
Yeah.
What if? What if I was to deliver like this? What if the numbers reduce? What if?
Yeah.
And I work quite closely with my financial team, and I was just like, what if this was the number of students? And what does that look like?
Yeah.
That looks like 2 incredible ALU teachers working 2 days a week. Yeah. Me working 3 days a week and 1 weekend a month. Brilliant. My PMDD and ADHD, my social battery, need the rest of the week. I'm creating space to be creative or just rest. Yeah. I've slogged it, man, and I've been driven by adrenaline and toxic fuel and all kinds. I'm like, now I'm working 3 days a week and I'm running an art studio. But everything's like manageable. It's hard. I've got space to think and be creative or just
well, it's really interesting that you're talking about this. There's, these free PDFs that Ray and I have been giving out, doing like little bits of just from our own experience. But the one that we're going to be releasing next week is about pivoting and how you don't always start and carry on that same path the whole time. And it's not failure to change your plans in your business. It's you're learning all the time. You're learning about your business, aren't you? You're learning what works and what doesn't work.
I think it's your responsibility, and breaking that word down, it's your ability to respond.
Yeah. It's like people that, for example, don't adapt to technology or things that are happening in the economy or things that are happening around them. They're so blindsided by what worked before is always going to work. But
it's like the college that I studied at. They didn't adapt and respond to the climate change. Environmental.
So just preempting the question, how is Bristol Upholstery Collective adapting to today's economic trends?
Yeah, so actually we've made a really clever move into this building. So I set up the art studio as a social enterprise, so it gets rate relief. We've massively reduced the overheads, took off at least $6,000 a month in terms of
it's crippling, that kind of trying to make that.
There was big break-even points with Bristol Upholstery Collective at one time, and that's a lot of responsibility. You're paying mortgages of people. I was burning out, and then that's when I got diagnosed with PMDD, which really impacts, like stress impacts that killed the creativity. So I stopped money for nothing because you could see it in my work. It was just like the life in my work had just drained out. Off down the road. And I was just like, this is awful. Where's my little 8-year-old authentic self that's playful and loves connection? It's been absolutely battered by all this responsibility. And so I think it's just interesting now in terms of Bristol Upholstery Collective. And this is where my team, Jack and Townsend, are amazing. I said to them last year when we halved the size of the school, you kind of have a meeting and you say, right, company goals this year, we're just going to tick along. No big events, no big moves, no new products, no, we're just ticking along because we're good enough as it is. And in fact, we're bloody brilliant at it. We're going to do it really well. And we're going to have fun doing it. It's going to be chill. It's like, so we're going to manage the culture in that sense.
Yeah.
Don't let any of that comes in that kills stress and kills creativity and stress. Manage that. So, and I said to them, I was just like, I recognize my ADHD traits. I'm full of ideas. I'm impulsive, so I'm going to act on those ideas. And I said to them, I was just like, hey, I'm recognizing my own needs in that moment. I don't want to squish that. I don't want to take away my ADHD. It's a great strength.
It's a superpower.
And so I just said to them, hey, why don't you help me out here? If you spot me coming up with a big idea and acting on it impulsively, I want you to say one sentence to me. And that is, great idea, Leigh-Anne, not this year. And that way then and they say that to me quite often. And in that moment, I'm getting my needs met, I'm being heard, I'm being understood. And I'm also being acknowledged for the ideas.
Yeah, but you're not being criticised.
I'm being reminded that my goals are this, and everything in my brain is working against what I need to do.
Do you write them down? Do you write all those ideas down so that you can do them next year?
Plus, there's something nice about forgetting about them, and then whenever the world presents the opportunity, I'm like, I've already thought of this. And I just put a pen on my face. Fine, no.
And it's 10 years, is that right?
It's our 10-year anniversary. And, oh God, it's been such a wonderful adventure of twists and turns with the TV. I mean, filming with Sir David Jason and Joe Blades on the touring tool shed.
I was about to ask you, what
Last year with Chris.
standout moments? What were you, I mean, so that's, carry on.
I mean, what was interesting with the ADHD thing as well, because I'm only recently diagnosed, about 18 months, 2 years ago. 5 years prior to that was PMDD, which is comorbid with ADHD. And last year, I mean, I was trialing meds last year. It was stress. I was being triggered. And
Sorry, what do you mean by trialing meds? Like trying different medications?
Yeah, for ADHD. And they weren't sitting right. And actually, a chat with my psychiatrist was sort of like, no, I don't think, I think my life's too stressful right now to be able for any pill to work. You know, pills not, well, they say skills not pills, don't they, right? So I was just like, listen up.
Skills not pills.
And so I've got intentions to redesign with a new awareness of what my needs are, and therefore then I'm adjusting to not economic changes, but I'm embracing this to myself, actually. And therefore only good stuff can happen. If I'm pouring from a full cup and I can have space to be creative and create opportunities, everyone else gets involved in that. It benefits everybody. So I think it was really wonderful to, meet Chris Tackham here and film that episode of In Our ADHD Minds. But I just didn't know enough back then. I was so newly diagnosed. I was so on these meds that were heightening paranoia. But my environment hadn't yet changed.
Right.
It changed the very next month.
Environment shapes behaviour.
I think environment is important to the sensitivities of an ADHD mind. An unmanaged ADHD mind can be really challenging and dangerous in an environment where it's not suited.
Well, I love your energy. I really feel the positive energy in it. Like, I'm totally feeling it. Thank you so much for coming and sit on this podcast. Thanks, guys. Yeah. And this has been Leigh-Anne Treadwell, Ray Clark, and Vicky Bro, the Sittings podcast.
Oh, by the way, if you like what we do, like and subscribe. And thanks very much.
Sit on this.